Sean, if all you're selling is sets and reps, AI has already replaced you.
I'll go further than that. I think if you are thinking that you're sharing habits and things like that also, AI has already replaced you. Because if you have a flow, if you have a then B, then C, then D, then E, then F, then G order of operations that you operate within, that doesn't account for all of the internal strife and drivers and influences on your client, you're already replaced. You could go into AI and say, build me a great training program to accomplish this goal. Keep in mind that these are the things that always hold me back. And please help me on a daily basis to develop the habits necessary to be successful following this program, including having conversation with me every day about what's going on. It will do that. Mm-hmm. So we don't need the person who's only doing that either. Yeah.
I have an example. So a few months ago, more than a few months ago, it was before we went on the hike on Memorial Day. Mm-hmm. I ended up with what I'll assume is like a grade 2 hamstring tear.
Okay.
In jiu-jitsu. And I'm assuming...
You seem to really rack them up in jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, man. It's got me really questioning whether that's the training modality for me.
Mm-hmm. Well, it could be. You just have to decide if you're down to tolerate those injuries.
Yeah. Anyway, I ended up putting all of the symptoms and everything I was feeling into ChatGPT, having it help me figure out what it could possibly be. Gave me the diagnosis. And then I said, okay, I have a 47-mile, 3-day backpacking trip coming up 6 weeks from now. Build me a strength and conditioning program that's progressed until the day that we leave. 5 seconds later, I had 6 weeks, 3 times a week, and I followed it, and I felt great.
Yeah, you're the only guy who made it through.
Yeah, it's true. My little brother could have made it.
Well, probably, but we don't find out.
Yeah.
I guess technically he made it as far as you did. But yeah, what you're describing is so obvious to anybody who's ever had to study that kind of stuff extensively. I remember our class where we had differential diagnosis. So differential diagnosis in chiropractic school was a class that was effectively dedicated to make sure that you never confused an organic problem with a musculoskeletal one. So that you wouldn't be adjusting or soft tissuing or exercising or stretching somebody's gallbladder cancer. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Oh, well, your shoulder blade is still an issue. Let's keep working on it. And then they die. Mm-hmm. So in this class, the test for that class, the questions were a full page long. And it was patient presents with, and then it would list all of the symptoms. It would list all of the things that they have tried to resolve this problem. It would list how those things worked, which of those things didn't work. And then it would ask you what 3 things are in your differential diagnosis for this patient. And we're talking about however many words fit on a full page, typeface, 12 font. You're looking for, it's like photo hunt. You're looking for the one symptom that's missing that rules out, for example, cancer or inflammation of the gallbladder or gallstones or you name the disease, right? That's pure memorization. Mm-hmm. Anything that is pure memorization is already gone.
Yeah. That makes sense from a practitioner standpoint and the healthcare standpoint. How do you see that transitioning to the fitness space? I imagine there's an easy transition there.
I think as soon as the client is accustomed to trusting of and adept at using AI, people are effectively replaced. In the role they play today. Mm-hmm. I actually believe people play a role. We can get to that later on, but we don't need the person to provide the training anymore.
Yeah.
We don't need the person to write the program anymore. We don't even necessarily need the person to provide the emotional and mental support anymore. And I think that the ignorance that a lot of trainers have these days is they're like, well, there's no way that it could cue a person who's in the wrong technique. Like sometimes you need a tactile cue. I went to an event in New York City called the Innovation Summit, put on by Athletech News. And one of the things that they had there was a machine that provides a massage powered by AI. Mm. Before you get into the machine, and by the way, for people who are curious, it's better than a bad massage from a person. Mm. Not as good as an average massage from a person, but better than a bad one.
Yeah.
I'm sure it'll get better in time.
Yeah, it's just early.
And it doesn't do the front of your body.
Sure.
All those things are irrelevant, right? It felt like a human. But before you get into it, you have to put on this suit. Because the suit that you put on either makes you a superhero or a sausage, depending on your body composition in the moment. And it allows the machine to glide over you. Mm. As I was putting on the suit, I imagined the first generation of mechanical cueing. That suit having sensors that run throughout it that can add pressure, remove pressure, vibrate, whatever, and actually just push you into positions while a screen observes you and sees all of the imperfections in the way you're moving, and having a coordinated approach with the suit you're wearing. Mm-hmm. That's the highest way I can imagine it happening. But if I can imagine that level happening, somebody who spends all of their time thinking about how this kind of stuff could happen is already 20 iterations past that.
Yeah. Well, the thing that comes up for me is the thought that, look, nobody in the fitness space is developing that. And the missing piece there is they don't have to be, because if you look at something like video games, they're already working on these haptic feedback suits where if you get shot in a game, you're going to feel a vibration. They're going to take that technology and they're going to transfer it into other industries.
Right. Well, listen, golf didn't create tungsten or titanium or whatever the hell they use in their clubs or carbon fiber for their shafts. They took the things that other industries created and adapted it for golf. I don't even know where I pulled that analogy out. I haven't played golf in years.
It's pretty good. Nice work.
But it works, right?
Yeah. So the whole premise and thought here is that, look, it's not necessarily that AI is going to replace the fitness industry. It will eventually. I think there's a huge, maybe 50 years from now, we talked about this earlier, 50, 60 years from now, but we're already starting to see some shades of change here. And I think the people who are going to be successful are the ones who figure out how to integrate this technology.
I think there's a little bit of smaller thinking that could be made larger for people to be thinking about for a moment. And I want to reiterate, I think that there is a big ray of light in all of this, so I don't come across as all doomy gloomy. Fitness is not going to be replaced by AI in the fitness space as fast as the need for fitness is going to be perceptively replaced by AI as it's used to create pharmaceuticals that allow muscle development, tendon repair, neurological regeneration, organ replacements. That is going to create a world where the need for expertise in a fitness environment absolutely plummets in need. So I see demand decreasing radically before I see supply being replaced.
Yeah, I think what ends up happening is the middle just entirely collapses.
Yes.
You get the commodity, and then you get the one of ones. Everything in the middle is gone, because you're still, for
I think
a
the
while,
bottom gets eliminated too.
I think you still end up having the energy, atmosphere, excitement, the things that people are looking for from the community.
Right, but I don't think you need a person for that.
I would agree with that. I think
it's
going to...
Today, I saw Michael Jackson in concert in Las Vegas a few years ago.
Well, I think what you're describing, I do think that there's a time delay for what you're describing going to happen. It's going to be generational.
Yeah.
Because, if we think about the people who are the boomers or the 60 to 70-year-olds, 80-year-olds now, they don't have any desire to interface with that technology. And then I think about my generation, maybe the generation after that. Like, we're okay with doing it but we didn't really grow up with it. Like, it wasn't there all of the time. We're starting to integrate these things now as we get a little bit older, but there's still a lot of value in the human connection piece. The generation after us, who are growing up with these things and growing up on screens, they're growing up with these companions that they're going to be able to train over their own lifetime and know them as well as anybody else in their life. That's where I think we're going to see this big shift to autonomous, if that's the right word, kind of fitness solutions. And I think we probably have about 50 years.
There's a few things to what you just said that I'm unsure of. I have 4 kids at home, 3 who are conscious about their decision making, I think. Right? The fourth is 1-year-old. And they enjoy their screens. And this could be that I'm in a little bubble that is my house and my neighborhood. They prefer to be in the street with their friends. They still enjoy arts and crafts. They still enjoy sports. They still enjoy all those other things. And when they are engaging with the screen, they're just playing games on the computer or watching YouTube that we've pre-approved. So I don't think they are going to be as fast to accept what you're describing. That could just be my kids. What I do think is they're more likely to be influenced by a stranger than we ever were. And I think that could lead them down the line of allowing something to replace their own intentional decision making by outsourcing thought. I'll share what I mean. When I was growing up, at least in my house, my mom and my dad were the 2 smartest people in the world. As far as I knew. They knew the answers to everything. And if they said something and somebody else said something that was different and I heard it in 2 different places, I immediately assumed that other person was wrong. I had to be convinced that other person was right. Now, my kids will tell me I'm wrong all the time because some schmuck on YouTube told them something different. And I just think that they have access to so many more people's opinions, that opinions have become white noise. And there isn't a real gravity to that person lived an entire life that led to that decision, and you haven't spent 2 seconds thinking about what was in that life.
The motivations behind the words.
All of it. All of it. Like, for example, they watch, and we do pre-approve the things they can watch on YouTube. So they watch these family called the Ninja Kids. I think it's 3 or 4 kids who started the channel like years ago when they were younger. They're just gymnasts, but they're kid gymnasts who are pretty good and they can do cool stuff on YouTube, right? Now they're getting older. They live in Utah. They're Mormons. Fine. We're Jewish. They're Mormon. I don't care what you are. One of the kids just got married. He's 20 years old.
Okay.
The wife is 19. She's pregnant now. They're living in their own apartment now. And my kids are like, how old are you when you got married? Like, I was 26, and that's pretty young to get married. And they were like, no, it's not. They got married when they were 19 and 20. Why did you wait so long? I'm like, whoa. Whoa, you hold on a second.
Right.
Daddy still thinks about all the ladies who didn't get a shot. Okay? We don't actually entertain the thought, but I tell my wife, she knows, I think any woman that looks at me or sees me obviously wants me.
Clearly.
Yeah. So, but the point of all this, to bring it back to what we're talking about, I think that influence is the first domino, because it's going to be really hard to convince me, I can't speak for you, that I should tell my problems to an AI and get its perspective instead of yours, for example. Because I don't know who programmed that AI. I don't know where it's getting its information from. I don't know that I trust where it's getting its information from, or that I value the opinions or the life experience of its resources. My kids have never thought about that.
Yeah. Yeah, not reaching out to the other person who has had the human experience.
That's right. And now I think that when it comes to fitness in particular, there's the argument that people will always want to be with people. And I think that that's a foolish argument. I think that's a losing argument. I think it was true during COVID. I think that people get a little bit over their skis because they'll talk about during COVID, all the money, all of the excitement, all of the energy was behind at-home digital fitness. Peloton went through the roof, and now it's back down to the floor, through the floor, right? And so I think that a lot of people are getting really, overconfident. Yeah, sure, AI will replace everything else, but not this. Why? It will never replace this. It will replace this as we know it. This will evolve in a way we can't necessarily imagine today. And there will be, in my opinion, a role for people in that reimagined version of the same thing.
Yeah.
The best example of that for me is we have less unemployment now than we did pre-industrial revolution. Think about how many people it took to sow a field pre-industrial revolution. And then you come out with the tractor. And that replaces what? 50 jobs in an hour?
Yeah.
But we have more people working now than we had working before, and people still work the land on farms. I don't have specific statistics on the number of people per capita on a farm compared to prior, but the point is we don't have joblessness right now. I'm obviously speaking generally, not specifically. Someone's unemployed.
Yeah.
But so I just think that there's an overreaction to fear around it, an underreaction to human resiliency around it, and an underappreciation for the less valuable you are, the easier you are to replace. And it's not because the service you offer isn't valuable, it's because you think it is.
Yeah, I was talking with a client who she's just finishing up her PhD in data science.
Okay.
And she was, one of her papers that she was working on was about
Is
AI.
one of our Active Life clients,
Yeah.
the flagship?
Yep. One of the papers she was working on for her PhD was the role that AI is playing specifically between professors and students. And in the professors, they're all like, especially the older ones, there's this big like push against it. Right? And she's like, but I don't understand that because they're all using it. Like the professors are using it to grade the papers and the kids are using it to write the papers.
Yeah.
And her thought was like, look, I heard a really great analogy with this. And somebody who was younger than her explained it to her like this. She's like, what that is it's a great collaborator. If you're using it to do the work for you, it becomes a crutch. If you're using it as what it's meant to be, that collaboration tool, it becomes now a jet propulsion system that just helps you get there faster.
I'd push her on that a little bit. I think that we have forgotten that the calculator made it so you never had to sit down and do math. And there's an argument that not knowing how to do math is a problem.
Well,
but we don't need to know how to learn do math.
It's the levels, right? You need to know like basic arithmetic.
Why?
Why don't you need to know what 2 + 2 is?
Because I can pull my phone out and find out what 2 + 2 is.
Yeah, but there's such a loss of just like critical thinking.
Okay, there we are. That doesn't mean I need to know it. You have a belief set, I happen to agree with you, that you should be able to come up with that.
Yeah.
An AI writing your paper is no different than a calculator doing your 2 + 2. It's just a different topic. It's a different study.
Yeah, I still get stuck. Like, what is the negative impact for every industry, not just the fitness industry, but just humanity as a whole if we lose that ability? Because we don't train, like that's something that you have to learn and you have to refine and you have to gain and gather, like that critical thinking ability.
Yeah.
If we lose that entirely.
Well, I don't think that do you still know how to do 2 + 2?
Yeah.
So do my kids. I don't know that we actually end up losing it entirely. I think that what happens is we only use it when we absolutely need to. And it removes all of the friction of having to use it all the time. Like go back to the days when you went out to the diner for lunch or dinner or whatever, breakfast, and the check had all of the numbers written on the page. How often, I don't know if you did this, but it's a big thing on Long Island. I go to diners for breakfast.
When you said diner, I was like, we maybe have one of those in the Midwest.
Right. The restaurant.
Yeah.
I think it was probably 30 to 40% of the time, they summed it all up wrong. The number at the bottom was wrong.
Sure.
And then you had to have a conversation. Hey, excuse me, I think you got this wrong. And then you show your math. Now it just comes out on a sheet and the computer already did all of it. Like I don't even look anymore. I just give the server my credit card and then they bring it back over. In Europe, they don't even bring you that. They just bring over a teller machine, like a cashier machine, and they show you what the price was. They don't show you, they don't even itemize it. This is what you owe, and you give them a credit card. I think that's what this is. I don't want to have to do math in that moment. I want to hang out with my friends. I want to be able to talk about what we're talking about, enjoy my moment, not remove myself and carry the one.
That makes sense. If you're using it as a personal example, that definitely makes sense to me. How does that translate to the coach in the facility, in the industry, in the business, like trying to create a value proposition to the marketplace?
I'll walk you through where my brain goes on all of this. In trying to replace myself. One of the things we do at Active Life is we try to put ourselves out of business so that nobody else has the opportunity to. If the next version of our company is better than the previous version of our company at doing the same thing the previous version of our company did, we just put the old version out of business. Okay, so that's what I mean by all of this. We do it before someone else gets a chance to. If I could take the program I write for the Parkinson's client I work with at the flagship, 75 years old, intelligent, very fixated on all the little changes, like he feels something, gets an itch, that could be a sign something's going wrong, right? If I didn't have to think about the program, because there are things that are really hard to figure out how to help him with, because we need to put him in positions he doesn't have the balance or the strength to be in order to put stress on a tissue that's become weak and painful as a result of being weak. And I need to come up with other ways to load that tissue than the way that tissue is loaded in the normal environment. We have like 3 sessions of trial and error before we get to the right exercise sometimes. I would love AI to do that part for me. Just tell me what the exercises are. Also, I'll go into the AI. I'll share personality characteristics of this guy. I'll share his history. I'll share his tendencies. I'll share his fears. And then the AI will give me, like, if they could give me the perfect program for that, I'd take it all day. What's my role now? Making sure I gave the AI the proper inputs to spit out the proper output. Okay, great. Now let's just say AI gets to the point that all of our personal data is online, and I can say the client's name is John Smith. It can see what he's watched the last 6 months, like everything. Like the terrifying reality of nothing is private, and it can all be used against or for you. Okay, now I just say the person's name and I tell it what to, like, this is what he needs. Now my job is just to be there and to execute that with him. Okay, the next thing that happens is there's some piece of machinery that does it with him instead of me needing to be there. So it wrote the program. It matched all of the emotional and mental needs, and it executed the session with him. What's my role at that point? Getting more people like him to come to my model. Well, okay, now I get to doing that well. Then the AI says, okay, I'm going to take that over. I'm going to get people to come to you because we've already got that going. I'll be your robot. I'll go talk to their robot. I'll bring them in. Or even better, I'll take care of them at their house. What's my role after that? Ideally, advancing people's uptake of using programs like this in general. Because the difference between, I think, what we do and what most people in the market are doing is we're doing it for the purpose of a mission in pursuit of a vision. And if somebody else came along and just did it and knocked it out of the park and we were like, yeah, I don't see the flaw. I'd be like, all right, well, I have a lot of really good skills I can go monetize elsewhere.
So that's like the all the way down to the end of the...
I think, as far as I can think.
Yeah. Let's think about how somebody can take the tools that they have available to them now and start to practically apply them.
I think the tools, okay, I see what you're asking. So I think that what happens now is you can go into something as let's keep it as simple as ChatGPT, right? And you can feed ChatGPT Active Life Professionals' entire curriculum if you're a student of ours. And you can tell ChatGPT to make all of its decisions in coordination with exactly what's in the curriculum. And then you can stay on that thread and you can ask that thread to build a program for John Smith. Mm-hmm. Then you can look at that program yourself and you can tell ChatGPT, I don't actually love this exercise in there for this reason, or this exercise for that reason, or this exercise for that reason. Please make some changes to that so that it matches these criteria better. And then it will spit out another version. And you can keep doing that until you look at it and say, this is great. And then you can install that into your client program. Mm-hmm. You can ask it to progress it on a week-to-week basis, so you don't have to do all of that. Now your program writing is effectively done, assuming chat can do that, mm-hmm. right? I don't know if our content is robust enough for chat to be holistic. You'd probably have to incorporate some other baseline exercise physiology principles that we start after, mm-hmm. if that makes sense.
Yeah, you could probably imagine you could take previous programs that you've had success with as well. Upload those into there, give them the client profile, the previous programming.
All of that. Another thing that you can absolutely do, and I do this on a regular basis, turn on voice mode and have conversations with it and ask it to play a different role. You want practicing your role playing? Have the hard conversation with ChatGPT before you have it with a person.
Yeah, that's a really great idea.
So I've been getting a lot of feedback recently that the podcasts that I've gone on to have been the best podcasts that I've gone on to. The most notable ones being the one I did with Andrew Coates and then the one I did with Jordan Shallow on their platforms. I've had more people reach out to me and say these were excellent than any other podcast I can remember doing. And neither of them have the largest platform of all the podcast hosts I've been on. I believe that's directly correlated with me having conversations with ChatGPT where I ask it to force me to say things simply. And so I know the questions I typically get asked. I say, go review these 3 podcasts. Interview me as if you're this podcast host. Mm-hmm.
What you're describing is using it as a collaborative partner.
Of course.
And I think that's where professionals in this space can start to be thinking about this. Mm-hmm. Because to the point around programming, that's got to be one of the things that takes most people most of the time to do.
Yes.
And it's not going to give you the perfect program. What it's going to do is going to give you the first draft that you can then iterate on top of.
Which, by the way, I don't do. For clarity, I don't use it for programming. Mm-hmm. I like that part of the job. Mm-hmm. What I will use it for, and the role that I sit in our company, is I'm going to have a conversation with it all of next week about we sell, in my opinion, the most differentiated and the world's best. It's both the best and the most different education mentorship in the world for fitness professionals who want to take their career to the level of being able to bridge where the gap between fitness ends and healthcare begins, helping people overcome chronic pain to reclaim their active lives. Mm-hmm. There isn't anybody close. I've always thought about how do we help more coaches enroll? How do we find more coaches? The biggest obstacle most of the coaches have to enrolling is the financial element. We're not cheap, we're not easy, we're not fast. We're effective, aggressively effective, violently effective. I want to ask ChatGPT, who has the money and the interest so that I can help enroll 100 or 1,000 at a time without the coach who can't afford it needing to worry about paying for it. That's the kind of conversation I want to have with it. Right? So there's this thought process in entrepreneurship, sell something expensive to wealthy people that solves an expensive problem. Mm-hmm. The coach is not the wealthy person. It does solve a huge problem, but they have to have the money to feel like they can buy in the first place. Who's the wealthy person? Who's the wealthy entity that needs the outcomes that we produce? Mm-hmm.
So it can help you start to identify where those people are, who they might be.
Yep.
One of the last things I'm thinking about in this topic is there's going to be a bifurcation that happens. There's going to be a great divide that happens. There's going to be the people who are resistant towards the advent of the new technology and the people who embrace it. And to what level they embrace it, who knows? Maybe we all end up, or the people who are down for it end up being plugged in all the time, all day, and they end up with a virtual job and virtual space. And then there's going to be the people who are absolutely resistant to it. How do we start to use some of it now in a way that feels like it's beneficial to us? If we are slightly resistant, because I think about any early technologies, right? They all have resistance.
Well, I think it's what I just described. I'm slightly resistant to it. I'm not opposed to it, which I think is different. I think there's putting your head in the sand, hoping it doesn't come, and living as if it's not, because everything is fine right now for you. You're fucked.
To me, that's the person whose value proposition is the programming, at least in part.
I think that it might be, but I think that their internal value proposition is comfort. I understand what I'm doing right now. I like what I'm doing right now. I believe that what differentiates me is the me in what I do right now. Okay.
It's got to be significant.
You're selling a personality.
Yeah.
And look, if people are going to continue to buy it from you, outstanding. I hope that you're able to do that for the rest of your life. I genuinely do. I think that's going to get harder and harder and harder.
Yeah. There's the ethical conversations that come around this, like who manages, owns this information, this data.
Who started Bitcoin? I don't know.
Yeah.
Again, you're right. It's the idea that I don't want a government entity, no matter which government entity it is, deciding what's virtuous. I don't want a guy or a woman in Silicon Valley or Austin or wherever they are dictating right from wrong, valuable from not valuable. I like when the world decides, because humans use their free will, or for people who don't believe in free will, their inevitable decisions, like whatever it's going to be, to shape society.
Determinism.
Yeah. Lack of self-determinism. Whatever. I don't know. Doesn't matter. Not the point to litigate. They know what we mean. I like when people shape society. And a machine learning system is not, in my opinion, an accelerant of people shaping society. It is a small group of people dictating how the decisions about how society is shaped is made. I don't like that.
I can agree with that.
So that doesn't mean I'm prepared to just resist its presence. Not only because I think I'd be one of the first people it kills if that was the case, but also because it can make things unreasonably and undeniably better.
Well, I think we should have a healthy amount of skepticism.
Of anything.
The things I'm thinking about for the person listening to this, right? So there is this thing out there that I'm underutilizing or I'm not utilizing at all right now. How could I start to utilize it a little bit better? We talked about how it can help with the programming side. One of the things that I've used, uploaded a bunch of the SOPs that I've created and made a template. And now if I need a new SOP for something, I put in, here's what I need the SOP for, here's what it needs to do, give me the first draft. And this is a huge point of leverage for a lot of the coaches or gym owners that I talk to, because all of them have a list of 10 to 50 SOPs that they need to write that they just keep pushing off. Put that into the model, have it spit out at least your working draft of that. And it's going to accelerate your ability to get the thing done. That's a huge piece that you can. Discovery calls are another thing that I use it for. Like, I take physical notes. I'm a pen and paper kind of a guy, or pen and remarkable. And I just dictate. I've given it the template, and I just dictate the words or the discovery call notes in there, and it formats them for me.
That's cool.
Now it's a quick copy paste, and it doesn't take me an extra 10 to 15 minutes to type everything up like it used to. I think there's going to be, there's certainly things that, we use it sometimes. I've seen the professionals use it for the functional diagnosis that they create, because they have all the criteria, they have the samples that they've uploaded before, they give the data and information, and it just formats it for them. And it's all about a speed thing, because for a lot of the coaches and trainers, it's the time behind the computer that isn't why they got into the game.
Right. Well, I think if we go back and we look at that for just a moment, the value that you're describing is value that I think people poo-poo mistakenly. So they'll say things like, who cares, dude? It's just 15 minutes. Like, how many discovery calls? 10, 12 a month? So 15 minutes times 12. 3 hours a month? That's nothing. And I think that the mistake that people make when they think like that is it just shows that your mindset is wasteful. It's negligent and it's lazy.
Well, the same people who say, look, that's nothing. What's 3 hours a month are the same ones who say, oh, I don't have time to do that thing. That's
true. That's true. But I just mean it in a sense of like, if you think about investing and you tell someone like, hey, just start putting $20 away every month. Like invest $20 a month. Open an account, $20 a month. What's the point of $20 a month? Well, it turns you into a person who invests. No, it's not going to make you rich. No, you're not going to retire from it. But it turns you into a person who invests, which changes the way you think about the rest of your future. And people who think throwing away, 1.5% of your time is not a big deal are people I just don't want to be around.
Right. It definitely tells me how you value your time.
The first 95% are so easy that the 96th% is as hard as the first 95 combined.
Yeah. The last thing I want to touch on here is this isn't meant to be like, a fear-mongering conversation. It's more to highlight that, look, it's not going to replace none of this stuff that we're talking about, at least in probably our lifespan, is not going to replace great coaches.
I don't think so either.
I think that a lot of the average and the mediocre coaches just end up getting out of this thing faster.
Let's go.
Where you can start to leverage this if you're listening to it is think about the repetitive tasks, the things that are consuming a lot of that time that you think doesn't really matter but stacks up. If we were to sit down, we were really to document your entire day, and you were to look at the 15 minutes you spend here, the 30 minutes you spend there, like the hour drafting that one perfect SOP, like all of those things stack up. So these are tools that you can start to leverage for all of those repetitive tasks. It gives you a lot more time to focus on the thing that you really care about anyway, which is the human being that you're working with.
Yeah.
Give them the coaching, cueing, correcting, the feedback, because as of now, those are things that don't exist.
You can get off your phone.
Yeah. Just don't do that ever. Anyway. Sean, this was helpful for me. Is there anything you want to touch on as we put a capstone on this bad boy?
Excellence is always the last thing that gets replaced. So be excellent, and you'll see it coming. And your pursuit of the excellence will not make you irreplaceable in that role, but it will help you to develop the skills necessary to pivot to a different one.
Thank you, Sean.
You're welcome. I hope you enjoyed that episode of the Active Life podcast. If you did, please head to wherever you listen and leave us that 5-star rating. It really does go a long way. 5 stars goes a long way. Please leave them. If you're interested in working with us as a coach, remember, we help coaches from around the world build fulfilling careers, working with clients they're inspired to help so they never have to worry about being able to pay your bills again. No one's ever going to ask you if you are going to get a real job when you work with Active Life. All you have to do, head into the show notes, click the link that you find there, download our curriculum. That will give you a feel for what it is going to take for you to be successful. A team member of ours will reach out to you to find out if it's a fit for us to work together. Till the next show, turn pro.